Welcome back to day 4 of Vibe Coding an App to $10,000 a month. Today we are at $0 in revenue, but we are making a lot of progress in the app build. So for those of you guys who are just joining us, we are essentially designing a course knowledge-based platform which allows us to scrape Loom videos, upload them to a vector knowledge-based database, and then use AI to retrieve information and help people find course videos, content, and the section of the video they need to be watching to help basically train people on how to use our software platform. Now, we're going to be using CodeSpring to plan out this entire thing, and if you would like to follow along, don't forget you can go back and watch day 2 and day 3. There is an entire playlist on YouTube, and if you would like to grab 50,000 free credits when you buy a pro account on CodeSpring, you can go ahead and click the link down below in the description. If you use that, then you can grab yourself 50,000 free credits. It is a one-time link. I will be updating it as we go, as they get taken, so there are a limited number of invite links. So once you click that link, you will be the first person to grab it and get 50,000 bonus credits. I update them once a day, so if you don't get them quickly, somebody else will get there first. Now, what I do want to do is I want to show you guys essentially what we've planned so far. So what we have here, and actually I just started syncing the code base from Cursor directly over to CodeSpring, and what you can see here is we now have the up-to-date database and requirement docs for what we planned in our previous video. So you can see basically here we have the database requirement doc, which explains how our database kind of goes together. We've also synced some extra information on how we actually built the API, for example. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue planning out our next features. And by updating or synchronizing our requirement docs, the reason we've done this is we actually designed the backend knowledge base platform here the way that we would actually chunk the transcript and then actually save them to our vector database was initially designed just using very, very basic, let me just mute CodeSpring, very, very basic actions. The problem with these actions is if we have a lot of people trying to use knowledge base indexing all at the same time, then the app will basically crash or it won't work, or if something breaks, it won't work. So we actually designed in the code a brand new job system, which basically creates indexing jobs, and then it will work through those jobs, and if they fail, it will try and retry up to 3 times to make sure that data has been saved. So for example, if you come into the course builder, let me just run the app, that would probably help. If we come into the course builder and we upload, let's say 10 videos into the course builder, then CodeSpring, this new app should theoretically then transcribe them and then chunk them and then save them into the vector knowledge base database. So you can see here we've got 17 features, and what I'm trying to figure out as the next step. So when we actually come into the knowledge base, I want to start doing querying and making sure that works. Now, we probably have to do some work in making sure this knowledge base indexing system is bulletproof, but for now, we'll probably try and start to stress test it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come to Loom and we're going to create a new video. We're just going to grab, for example, this video here, which is, let me just grab that, copy that link. And we're going to come over to our app that we've planned. We're going to come to Course Builder, come into Course, and we're going to call this, I don't know, Lesson 4. And at the moment we only have the Loom scraping working. So we're going to click on Add Lesson, and what we should see is it processes, it should find the transcript and then save the transcript, and then it should create us a new knowledge base job, and then hopefully, there you go, the new job has been created. And if we come into the embeddings, we should start to see some more embeddings appear, just like that. That has now been stacked up and saved in the database. So if we come back to the knowledge base here, we can come into the module and see Lesson 4. And what it should have done is run it in the background. We can actually come into Cursor and see, looks like there were no errors. And what it should do is it should show us the chunks that it's created. So there's 10 different chunks for the entire transcript of this video. But we need to make sure that it is actually chunking everything and it's doing it correctly. So let's just come to this video here. If we come to the transcript, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see here, cool, the last word are successfully synced to. And then the last words down here, so it looks like all 3 successfully synced too. So it looks like it's chunked everything correctly. So now what I want to do is come to CodeSpring. We're going to actually just save a checkpoint, and we're going to do synced, codebase indexing changes. And then here we're going to say we're now up to date with the code base for running indexing and chunking as jobs. And we're going to save that checkpoint, which basically means now if anything goes wrong, we can always roll back to a previous version. And then we're going to come back to the chat here, and we're just going to start planning out the next feature. So you can see here we've got the course page and embeddable search player. We have two choices. One, we need to figure out how to actually design a course page. So in here, in the course builder, I think we're going to add a separate tab, which is obviously this is the content. I think we need to have like a designer and deploying area. The theory being is every time we add one of these, it will add it to the knowledge base in general under folders, but everything in that folder, everything in this course will be indexed for the chatbot for this specific course. I'm thinking that's probably the best way of doing it. But then what we probably want to do is also have like, because this is the other thing, right? Is in CodeSpring, I'm trying to figure out how we design this because we have multiple courses for beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and we'll have like a course page. So is that multiple courses or are they multiple modules? In which case, I think we call them multiple courses, and then we can have multiple modules for one course. So it could be CodeSpring's development course has beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The problem is then it becomes difficult to, I don't know, because if we come into here, right, we come into CodeSpring's lessons, and we come into, I don't know, advanced, right? This is a course. This is the advanced course. And then obviously we have modules for each of those, and then we have lessons. And what I want to make sure is here, I think we just add all the courses, and so this is not necessarily course builder. We want to have course builder and maybe deploy, so we can actually design a course platform area where you can have one platform that can show one course, or it can show multiple courses is probably the way to do it. So maybe what we do is we change this from course builder. I don't know. So what we can do, we can ask CodeSpring to help us figure this out. So the problem that I have at the moment is we have designed a feature called Course Builder, and we essentially can create multiple courses. The naming of this might be a bit wrong because I also want to have a view in our app, which is kind of like a deployment area where we can essentially build a course, but a course might have, like the embeddable course that we have, might have multiple courses within it. So for our platform, we have a course on how to use our features, we have a course on how to build multiple apps. So our embedded course for our app, there might be multiple courses within it. Do we add this into the course builder section? And then maybe we have course builder, which is like there's a tab for us to sort of mock up the UI and select which courses are going to be in the course. But there needs to be, it's hierarchical, like there's something above course builder. What should we call it? And I want to sort of design that feature, which is essentially where we design the embeddable page, and we could have like 5 embeddable pages with different selections of different courses. Because we also have the course page and embeddable search player here, which is essentially what we're doing. Because you can also see we have the course page and embeddable search player, and also the course builder, which I've added to your context. The course page and embeddable search player is the public course view that we're talking about here, that we're creating. It's going to have the semantic search and is an embeddable widget, but we want to be able to select which courses go into it. Where do we want this in our UI? Do we want it within I think within the course builder, but I'm not sure what to call it. And basically what we'll probably do is we'll redesign the name of this feature here. So that's what we're going to work on. But I think we'll come into the course builder, and then it can be, okay, here's all of your courses. You can create courses. And then you have you can then select deploy. Maybe it's like click, 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 and then deploy. Something like that, but we'll see what it comes up with. To solve this cleanly, introduce a layer above course builder, recommended hierarchy and names. Course, so this could be your atomic content modules and lessons. We can have collections, that would work to be fair. Curated sets of courses with order, embeds, deployable public pages. Suggest naming the top level feature embeds and collections, deployments, publishing. Okay, so at the moment inside our app, we have the course builder section. I think when we come into the course builder, when I see that, it makes me think of, okay, we're going to build the embeddable widgets, but then also within that, so we could have in the course builder page, we could have embeddable widgets, and then we could also have add your courses, and then essentially when you want to create an embeddable widget, it could have like you click on it and it's like a preview of what that widget looks like, and then you can just tick off the courses that we have in our database to show up in that embeddable widget. What do you think? And so this is where CodeSpring is quite useful, because what we could do is we could just rush in, right, and we could start building this, but we may find that actually we don't want to design it in the way that we had initially designed it. We want to move things around and change things a little bit. I'm just going to collapse these things just to keep things a little bit more organized. And it then means you then have to go back and change a lot of the code and refix things. And in this case, this allows us to scaffold it out and design it a little bit better. So it says your idea is solid, keep everything under course builder with 2 clear sections. So embeddable widgets and courses. So this is a create a preview widgets area. Yep, I think that's a good way of doing it. And a few refinements to make it scale and stay intuitive. Rename agile courses to avoid confusion. Optional collection step. If you expect lots of widgets and many courses, add a collection sub-tab. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to edit the course page plus embeddable search player feature. The notes that we have for that, if we haven't got any, I want to add some that kind of explain what we're discussing here. But we're going to add it as a tab into the /dashboard/courses part of our app, which is currently where we can create new courses. And I want it to be like embeddable widgets or embeddable course page, and then obviously we have the course builder where we can create all of our courses. And then obviously when we're in the tab with all of our courses, there can be like a selection on there, maybe like a tick box. We can tick, 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 and then there's a little toolbar that pops up at the bottom inside the dashboard /courses at the bottom, like a floating sort of pop-up thing, where we can then do create embeddable widget, and then it basically adds all of those courses to that one embeddable widget. And then what will happen is that embeddable widget needs to understand which courses are attached to it, and then because those courses have obviously here multiple videos in them. So the way the database works is a course, right? This is the course, will have modules that will have lessons that have videos, and the videos that are stored in our database here have video transcripts, and then we have our knowledge base embedding, which obviously has the video ID. So when we create the courses and the searchable stuff, it will basically use all of the IDs or the video IDs that are part of those courses. That may not be the best way of doing it, but we'll talk with CodeSpring and see if it can figure out the best way of doing it. So what it's doing at the moment, I think, is it's figuring out this embeddable widgets tab. So let's just auto lay this out and see where it's added that. Embeddable widgets. Okay, so it's adding it to the course page. Cool. The next thing I want to figure out here as well, before we start designing the UI and updating the course builder sort of tab in our app, is obviously because I have multiple courses that I select to be in that embeddable widget that we're going to deploy to sort of embed on our website. The way that the knowledge base database works, if you actually look at the requirement docs for it, which I'll tag for the vectors, PG vector on Supabase, like a course obviously has videos which have video transcripts. The KB_embed I think is basically storing all of the videos, and we have video ID. What I want to make sure is the search functionality that we'll build later for the embedded course page will only be able to search across the courses that have been created as part of that. So only the vector embeddings for those courses that are part of the embeddable widget will be searchable. And what CodeSpring is doing here is it's figuring out the connections for all of these features, and then it's just taking notes on all of them. And once we have all of these notes, we'll create requirement docs, and then we'll create Kanban tasks on how to actually, create these features, which shouldn't be too difficult to do. And then hopefully we'll then give it to Cursor, and Cursor can then read all the information. And for complex tasks, what I like to do is create a plan in here, give it to Cursor, put Cursor onto plan mode, and get it to read our current plan with our, code base, and then plan out the best steps moving forward. Okay, so I captured the requirements. So we added embedded search scoping to selected courses with concrete API SQL plan for PG vector queries. Okay, so I want you to create me a front-end product requirement doc for this, making sure that we add these this tab to the course builder part of our app, which is already in dashboard/courses. And what we can do to speed this up a little bit is, I think this one, the course builder, we can always add the course builder product requirement doc to it as well. Firecrawl UI UX. No, it's not that one. We're making this easier to find, don't worry. Dashboard Analytics Course Builder, so we can add here. So we already have a front-end product requirement doc on how that works. So I can add that to context, and I can say here, I've already added to context the front-end requirement doc for the course builder page, so you can see what that looks like already. I'll also add the back-end requirement doc as well, and also the database product requirement doc, so you can see how we're storing the courses in the database. And actually, you know what, I'm also going to give you the database requirement doc for PG Vector. So when you create the front-end and back-end requirement doc for the embeddable widgets feature, I want to make sure that we take all of these things into consideration. I also just gave it some context on the design. What I want it to do is basically we have like a view, right? And actually what we can do is we can come into here, and I probably should have done this beforehand, but you know, it is what it is. We're going to probably design it so we can actually wireframe out in CodeSpring. So we're going to say, okay, well, this is our current course builder section, which looks like this. There's going to be a tab, so it'll be, obviously this is the sidebar right on the left-hand side, which we currently have, which is, oops, put that here, which is this sidebar here. And then we have the course builder section. I want to have like a tab like this, where we can select and we can swap between embeddable widgets or the actual course builder. So let's say, for example, we are on the embeddable widgets right now. On the left-hand side, we're going to have, hopefully, this sort of view. And we'll make this like no background. And this is going to be like a navigation bar. Right, and the navigation bar is going to have, for example, it could be, oops, we could call this like course 1. And then we could have course 2, for example. But you can expand them, there'll be drop downs. And then in here, as it sort of expands, we'll make this like there. And this would be, for example, module 1. And we could have module, and then underneath them, right, we have lesson 1, lesson 2. Lesson 3, right? And then on the right hand side, what I want is like, this is the deploy area, this is the preview, where we can actually preview what the course looks like, which is going to be essentially course name. There's going to be some sort of search bar here, which is going to allow you to search for any information that you want. So search. And then we want to have like our featured courses, which are going to be like squares, kind of like this. And actually, we probably want to organize this a little bit more. We'll have, for example, sections within... oh, I've done this wrong, because actually what's going to happen is this navigation bar will be within this thing here. So we'll actually have, so it'll look like this, and then on the left hand side here we'll probably have like some options. This will be like a builder section, and obviously let's just, you know, for now we'll make this be a little bit shorter. Actually, I'm just going to delete that for now. We don't want a sidebar just to make things confusing. So we'll make this thing here, which is essentially going to be the designer, something like that. Right, so this is the preview, and this is where you can select courses, and you can do, I don't know, like branding or something. And then basically you can kind of design what you want your course to look like. And then maybe here, this is essentially a list of all the courses, kind of like this. So you can search for a course, or you can just sort of scroll through. This will be a scrollable list with kind of like a little tick box thing. So like this one's obviously, you know, oops. Selected, and then obviously the selected courses that you have will then obviously show up on the right hand side, and then maybe some stuff where you can obviously change which courses are featured courses, but essentially the left navigation that I'm working on right now will be like the view to build up those sections. And because we're designing this in CodeSpring, and we're just going to click on this and save, this basically will mean that the front-end requirement doc that we generate in a second, which we'll do this, so let's do it manually, is going to use that wireframe. Okay, so front-end UI, auto lay that out. Once that's done, we'll create the backend, and then we'll create a database design one, but I don't think we'll really need it because we've already got the database stuff created, but we may need to have some database changes, but we'll ask Orchestrator to build the database one for us actually, because it may need to use existing database tables that we have, or it may need to redesign or add some new ones to have essentially store, well, you'll need to definitely store the embedded courses. Backend features. So this is the old mock-up wireframe that I created, but actually I think we'll probably do it with the latest one. So I can actually remove that one now. We don't need that. We've updated it. Delete. Don't know why that delete button isn't working. Auto layout, and now add this to context. We're going to say, I want you to design me now the database product requirement doc, taking into consideration the fact that we already have a whole load of database tables created in the course builder feature, and also the way the knowledge base has been created by looking at the knowledge base product requirement doc, which I've also attached. We don't want to create like loads of duplicate tables in our database, but we probably need to store our, embedded courses or our deployed courses or something. I don't know if I like the name embedded courses, but it could be knowledge bases. Let's call them knowledge bases actually, rather than embedded courses. So that way, what we'll have in here is like course builder, we'll have knowledge base. This is like all of the knowledge, and then in here we'll have, these are your deployed knowledge bases basically, and then we can always adjust the wording later on, I think, but that's probably fine for now. So we have the front end, the database, and the back end requirement doc generated for the embeddable widgets page. We're going to come over to cursor, we're going to come to here, and we're going to say, I want you to pull from the CodeSpring MCP. We have created a new front end, database, and back end product requirement doc for the feature that we've labeled course page plus embeddable search player. And essentially what we're doing is inside the dashboard / course builder page, dashboard / courses, we're going to create like a tab in there that allows us to see. The first tab is going to essentially be the course preview, like the embeddable widget, which I think we should call them like the users. It's not necessarily their knowledge bases, because we have the knowledge base part of the app, but it's going to be an area where they can essentially select the courses, and then they can go ahead and they can start previewing what the courses are in the knowledge base view. I want you to pull the requirement docs, and I want you to start building those features. Also, guys, what I forgot to do was save my mind maps. We're adding auto save, but essentially I now have to rebuild the view of what I want this area to look like. But we're just going to do a quick one here. So it's going to be courses, and then we're going to have some sort of search bar in here. Search. And then obviously I'll put the featured courses down here. And then we'll give this image to the AI and tell it to start building. But what I want is on the left-hand side the ability to kind of, let's put that there, and put that there, and put these like up here. But I want this area to be like an area where you can select and you can design specific features for the app. So you can have obviously, so I'll screenshot this. Oh no, we want to have a tab as well. So I'll put that across here. And then we'll put the tab in, and I'll make it like orange as well, because I think at the moment orange is the color that we're going for. And do that. Cool. And make it like that. And then we'll give this screenshot to Cursor and tell it to build it. So save and close. Come to Cursor. You can also see I've given you a screenshot, which is an image like wireframe of what I want this feature to kind of look like. The orange tab section will be like you can tab between the traditional course builder that we've got where it is right now, and then the knowledge base area where you can build their embeddable knowledge bases, for example, or maybe we'll call them like knowledge training areas or something like that. On the left hand side of this image you'll see there's like a navigation bar. It says select courses, so it'll have a list of all of the courses that they've created. They can then select them, and then they can adjust other settings like maybe branding, and give it a name for their knowledge base and their course, and they can see that update in real time on the right hand side. So those like 4 rectangles are going to be like featured courses. They can select which ones on the left hand side of the navigation thing are the featured courses, and actually then they can save it, and they can also, there needs to be a view where they can actually see all of their generated knowledge bases as well. Again, all of this is going to be inside the dashboard courses, but more information is explained with inside the requirement docs on how to build it. Because we also have the database, because when we're selecting the courses, I want to make sure that we are building, reading the correct databases, because when we select the courses, the knowledge base that they'll be able to embed will only be trained on the courses that they've selected, so only the vector embeddings from those ones will be in there. What I'm also going to do is, let's just put this on plan mode. I'm going to say read the CodeSpring MCP before planning, and then we'll send that through. So Cursor's reading our requirement docs. It's saying, should we call it training hubs, knowledge hubs? I think knowledge hubs is quite good. Oops. Knowledge hubs. For the embeddable widget, should the public-facing page be a search-only interface, search bar that returns relevant chunks? A full course listing plus search combo, so it's going to be course cards plus search bar. Sidebar currently has a separate knowledge base link going to the dashboard knowledge base. Should that stay as is, or should we remove it? We're going to keep it. This is the problem with having the same names. We're going to keep both, and then continue. Okay, so it looks like it has now completed that task, and we're just going to see what it's done. So you can see here you've got the courses and knowledge base hubs, which I think is pretty decent. You build your courses, then you create your knowledge base hubs. So create your first hub, and you can see here are the list of courses. So we're going to call this test hub, and then like that, create a hub. And then what we want to do is we want to come into here, and you can see it's created a new table. Widgets, widget courses, video transcripts, bending modules. So widgets, presumably, it's okay. I think we'll probably change these because they're called widgets and widget courses, and obviously these are called hubs. And obviously we've got some errors here, so we'll send this back through and let's do some debugging. Okay, so I've updated them to knowledge base hubs, and then obviously the courses that are attached to those hubs. I don't know why we need the courses though, because it's just the hub ID and the course ID, so we can probably actually update the courses section here. So we'll have a look at that, but for now we can come into here. We can see if we come to knowledge based hubs or knowledge hubs, we have our knowledge hub, and then what I want to be able to do is be able to click on it and then obviously view what the knowledge hub looks like. So I'm just going to do a little bit of work now on just updating and fixing some of these bugs and some of these little issues. What we're trying to build here is pretty complicated realistically. As you can see, we are running into some issues. So what I'm going to do is realistically, I think the best plan, let's just collapse all of this, auto layout. I think the best plan is just to sort of consolidate where we're at the moment and what we're trying to build, because we probably should have broken this up a little bit more, the course page and embeddable indexing, embeddable search player. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want you to read the product requirement docs from CodeSpring, because it looks like we've created some tables really in our database that we may not need. We've got knowledge base hub underscore courses, like KB underscore hub K underscore courses, which has just got the hub ID and the course ID, whereas I think the best thing to do is just update the courses table to include the hub ID, because obviously the course ID is from there, rather than have yet another table in the database. Also, when I actually come into the knowledge base hub, you can see that some of the bugs from above, it's not actually showing me the preview of what I want the knowledge base hub to look like, which is obviously based on the screenshot that I've given you. So when I'm actually inside the knowledge base that I've created, I want it to look like, inside the knowledge base hub that I've created, I want it to look like this screenshot, where I can then obviously see the select courses, so I can edit the number of courses that are in there, and then obviously the preview. For now, we don't need to worry about like the actual embeddable section of this. Let's just start building just the UI. And actually, let's come back, let's discard those changes. So we've got the front-end product requirement doc. So I want you to use the front-end product requirement doc and for the course page plus embeddable search player from CodeSpring. There we go. So what we're doing really is, because what we're trying to build is a very complicated feature, within CodeSpring I've basically done a lot of planning to make sure that we understand how these features kind of all go together, and look at all of this knowledge and context on how everything is interconnected and linked that Cursor doesn't have access to unless we give it to through the MCP. What I'm hoping is it can now go through and figure out, okay, actually these are the problems that we have, and then here's how we can fix it. And obviously what we're trying to create is, okay, you have a knowledge base hub that's trained on various courses. We can then select and change which courses are in it, but equally, we don't need to have multiple sections to the database because there are existing tables already in there. And then we can go ahead and make those changes and then resynchronize them back again. It looks like it's figured it out, so it says it's good. I've got the PRDs. Now let me plan and execute the changes. Simplify the database, remove the knowledge base hub courses, and join the hub ID to the courses table. Fix vendor chunks error, which is obviously just some error that we have, and then rebuild the hub editor UI to actually match our wireframe. So I've attached the wireframe here just because I think Cursor does a better job, because the way that CodeSpring figures it out is CodeSpring will look at our wireframe, and then it will basically create us a front-end product requirement doc based on this wireframe and what we've said here. But it'll look at this and create like a prompt on what it wants to look like. But if you give the image to Cursor as well, it'll also do a pretty good job. So that's done. I'm just going to come into here. We're going to check what we've got in our schema. So we've got courses schema, knowledge base hub schema. So it's removed the schema for the knowledge base hub courses, which is great. And it looks like it's done it in here as well. So we've got the knowledge base hubs, and then in here what we should see is the knowledge base ID, I think, hub ID rather. There we go, there's the hub ID, knowledge base hubs. Cool, so I'm going to delete this knowledge base hub now, and then what we'll probably do is come onto the terminal, and we're going to kill the terminal and we're going to run it again. And what we'll do is we'll test it out again. And this is just a bit-by-bit process of building and adjusting these features. So once this is done, we'll then resync it to CodeSpring. And then, obviously, like the CodeSpring plans aren't going to be perfect every time, but you can see how much further we're moving by having a proper planning tool. And also just somewhere to keep all of our requirement docs in one place with like all of the integrations and how they're all linked together. So you can see here, we've started building, obviously we've got the area where we can create our courses. We also have our knowledge hubs. So we come into knowledge hub, we're going to create first hub, and we'll attach the lessons to that. We're going to create the hub. Hub has now been created. So we can see down here on the left hand side we have the ability to select various hubs to put in it. If I click on it, okay, so we need to work on this UI and user experience here. So let's come into this and we're going to give it that. And we're going to say, what I want to do is I want to work on the knowledge hubs section. So we're able to create a hub, which is perfectly fine. Like I'm loving the way that that's been created, and we were able to obviously test from that. We can obviously select, and view the hubs inside our database. So it's saving that correctly inside our database. The only problem that I have at the moment is the UI and the design. So we've created the knowledge hub in the database, and then on the courses that we have, it's added the hub ID to the course, which is perfect. The problem is obviously the UI and design. So you can see on the left-hand side it says select courses. It's not showing that the course has been selected, and we should obviously be able to search courses. I want the rather than it just being like a little selection, I want it to be able to be like a nicer design for the cards, for the hubs, and obviously the ones that are selected should show as selected. On the right-hand side, you can see what the UI looks like for the knowledge base hub. And actually, I've got another screenshot of what I kind of want to emulate for the knowledge base hub. And that is really going to be Hyros. So we're going to screenshot this. Obviously my face is in this, but that's fine. So in the knowledge base hub, which is this folder here, I'll tag the folder. Okay, I haven't tagged the folder. Okay, so obviously what we want in our app is essentially on the left-hand side. This is obviously the hub preview, really, the design of what we want it to kind of look like, which is kind of a preview of the area, the design of the actual knowledge base. I want it to be like a name of the hub, and then obviously a search bar so we can search for it, like in the image. We have then the featured courses. And then on the left-hand side, I want there to be kind of like a navigation bar, which shows us all of the courses that are in there, and then you can click on it, and then it shows like a drop-down of the modules. You can click on the modules, you show a drop-down of all the lessons inside that knowledge base hub. Then in the outside of the sort of the preview, on the left-hand side, where it says select courses, essentially this is going to be like a canvas builder, right, where we can edit things, so we can change the name of it, we can change the branding, and do various sort of updates and settings. Because realistically what we want here is to have like a much sort of clearer description. So what it's created really is this like rough design so far. This, and obviously you can see here this square, we've only added in one, and we've obviously got the search bar here. And obviously this little tab is this little tab here. But I think that's probably fine, because then we come in and we have like this whole hub builder, which I think is better. But we'll see what happens with the AI, just figuring out a better design for this one. I'm using Opus 4.6, which I haven't yet tested for UI. 4.5 is very good, so we'll see how 4.6 fares. Okay, this is like the updated UI. I'm trying to find which file. I think this is the hub preview. I want to work on the hub preview. At the moment, what you can see is the screenshot is what you've kind of created for the hub preview. But what I want it to look like is the second screenshot. So can we work on that? And also what you've done on the left-hand side, so you've got courses and settings, which kind of, you know, looks all right. But the problem I have is the courses section is just like, it's massively empty and there's not a lot of stuff in there. Like if we've only got 3 or 4 courses, there's a lot of empty sort of wasted space, which I think we can probably do something with to help us sort of design what courses go in there. And also it could be, I think maybe the hub preview. I don't know, maybe in the settings, I don't know, let's figure something out. To be honest with you, I don't really know what the best thing to do. My plan was to put the settings underneath it, but we'll see. Yeah, these are other things which we need to plan at some point, but we haven't planned them. But you can see things are starting to take shape, right? We have the ability to, so dashboard here, we'll be able to track usage and those sorts of things. Course builder, we're going to go ahead and obviously create multiple courses. We can then now actually add content to our courses, that will then automatically be added to our knowledge base. And then from the knowledge base, obviously, when we come into the course builder, we can obviously have the knowledge hubs. Then this, we want to start testing out the AI chat and everything. So I think what we'll do for the AI chat is I want to have, because this is the next thing, right? Is do we have the ability to create? Well, you can create a knowledge hub, but you can also create a chatbot. But if we have them separate or we have them together, I think we have them together. So a knowledge hub, we're in here, and then we can have settings to turn on to create a chatbot. The problem is if we make it too complicated with AI chatbots, then it can be too much customized settings. Because also, there you go, the UI is starting to look a little bit nicer. The problem is when we're starting to plan out settings and these sorts of things with AI chatbots, is you want the ability to customize and tailor the AI responses. If the AI responses are incorrect, you can fix them. There's a whole load of stuff we need to do for that. I think it should just be an AI-powered hub to start off with, where people can get the information that they need, and they can search through the documentation and find the videos that they need, rather than showing an AI chat in here for now. So let's just let this do its new designing, and then what I want to do is I want to make sure the course is sharp, and then we can see the modules, and then what we'll probably do is we'll start planning out. So what we do it now is in the course page in Embeddable Search Player. Let's add this to contest. I'll tell you what, let's start a new chat. Summarize and continue. So course page here. So we've built the course page in Embeddable Search Player. I want you to actually tell you what, we'll synchronize from here and then we'll rename it. Okay, back, first hub. Okay, so it's yeah, whatever. So it's added it like that, and then obviously we can come in here, we can see the module, and then we can see the lessons from the module. Click on this. So we need to be able to create the better design for this. Looks much better. What I want to do though is when I open the hub, because when I created the hub, it's already got the course ID of what courses are attached to it. So I want those to automatically be selected in the course list. Also, in the course list, there's a card that it says not indexed for those courses, but I think that's incorrect because the courses are actually indexed. So I want to make sure that card is grabbing correctly. I think, what have we got for the indexing? Knowledge base. So this will be actions, so hub actions, knowledge base indexing actions. And then we'll have knowledge base actions. I think they probably do. Also, when we're inside the hub, I don't like the way the preview is kind of like attached the way it is, where it's kind of floating. I want it just to be the full size of its parent container. And also, I can't seem to click inside or write in the knowledge hub, like actually search or test anything. And when I sort of have the hub or I select a course or a lesson, I can't click around inside the knowledge hub. So I know we've got knowledge hubs and we've got the widget cards, widget editor, and the various widgets. I think we should probably organize the components for the actual knowledge hub into a subfolder versus the sort of hub editor stuff. So we have the hub view where that's obviously like the embedded view, which we'll create as like a public thing later on, but for now we want to separate that up so it's easier to keep organized. One thing I will say is, as I've sort of got better at developing with AI and building multiple products, is this idea of keeping things organized, right? Is designing the app in a way that is simple, scalable, yet organized. And part of that comes down to how you organize your file structure. And that's why we're going to have a knowledge base hub, which is a view. And when you're building with AI, especially if you're designing with CodeSpring first, and then you give it to the AI to code, doesn't just mean, right, you can switch your brain off, because CodeSpring will do a lot of stuff with figuring out how the file structure should work, how things should go together, taking your knowledge. Like, look at all of this knowledge that we've added to all of these individual features. If we hadn't added this here before we created the requirement docs, these would be thousands and thousands of prompts that we're sending to the AI to build up these individual features. But instead what we've done is we've kind of rambled our way through it. We've described roughly what we want. CodeSpring takes these plans and then builds out proper development plans based on all of this. The problem is, you kind of need to figure out what files is it creating and why is it creating things, because that way you can debug things. And especially with Cursor, it's getting pretty good now with being able to find the correct files that it needs. But equally, if you know what files do what, then you can give it the correct direction and the correct push. There, that's a little bit better. I want to fix this little stretch out at the bottom. But if we come back to the dashboard for a second, and then come into the course builder and the knowledge hubs. So it's now remembering this indexing seems to be pulling in correctly. If we drop down here, we can see obviously each of the lessons. We need to obviously create the view where we can click in and go ahead and obviously find and look at the specific lessons and build out the knowledge hub. And there's some other UI bits and pieces, which means we probably shouldn't have a search bar here and a search bar here. Auto capitalization, that sort of stuff. And what I probably want to do at some point is have a button where you can click to automatically generate AI, with AI like descriptions or titles based on the context that's in the knowledge base. But we'll see. Excuse me for yawning. Okay, review, just going to keep all of that. Now we're going to say, great, this looks a lot better. The only problem is now also in the knowledge base hub, if I click on the featured course, right, or if I click on the lessons, like if I'm on the sidebar and I click on the course and it opens up the drop down to see the module, and I click on the module, it won't take me into the module view. There is no module view or lesson view for the knowledge base hub, like the preview. So it's adding in a proper module and lesson view. The only problem is I kind of want it to break it up into separate components. And what we'll do again once we've done all of this is we'll resync to CodeSpring. Now we're going to add in some tools inside CodeSpring which will basically enable you to, synchronize from here into here, and then CodeSpring can analyze your code and figure out, where are the problems, what things do you need to fix, are there, is there like missing code, or is there an issue with the code, is there bloated code, that sort of stuff. Can you split these into separate components? Let's just come into the app and see what's done. Okay, so we've gone into the lesson view, and then obviously we've got the module view. So we click on this and it takes us into the course. So what's happening right now is I go from the home page and I click on the course. It takes me into a course view, and then obviously the modules and then the lessons. That's not quite right. I don't want that to happen. I want it to go directly from clicking on the course, whether it's from the sidebar or the module, to the module view. So that it should show me all of the modules that are available, and then obviously all of the lessons. Also, we have the course ID from the database, and because we have the course ID from the database, we have the videos as well, and we know kind of like how that whole thing goes together. Again, if you want, you can read the CodeSpring MCP and read the product requirement docs on how the course page builder works, and then you can figure out how the database works. I'll tag the files for you. But basically, the video player should show the videos that we have, the video URLs, because it's a lot of them I think are just Loom videos. So you want to use those, which is source ref, I think, in the videos table. Okay, cool. So it's pulling in the correct data now. So don't forget, from the previous lessons, so in previous days, we created obviously the course builder, right? So I can come in, I can build a course, and then in here I have the modules, I have the transcripts, the looms, you can see them all in here. And then when I come into the knowledge hub, then I can come into here, I can view the lessons, and then obviously I can see the same lessons that are within it. And I can obviously swap through the lessons, which I think looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that for now. I think that'll probably do, just in terms of like basic UI. The way I like to design things is we build the UI first, and then we can sort of iterate and design from that. So what I'm curious about is if we create a new course, we'll call this course 2, for example. And then we'll just put a description. This is to test out having 2 courses. Okay, create a course. Add a module 1, a lesson, And we'll just copy this link here, that can be our lesson, and we'll call it Loom video. We'll call this lesson 1, add a lesson. So that should process, and that should then transcribe, and then what we should see is in the knowledge base. Knowledge base indexing jobs, that's done. The embeddings, we should see this increase, so that's on 31. And then, where are we at? Transcript ready. Yeah, I assume it did that quite quickly. And then obviously, I guess we've got course 1, course 2, knowledge hub come into here. We can see course 2 is here, so we can click on course 2 and then save. And then if I refresh, course 2 is there, come into that, we can see there's one module, there's one lesson. If we click the drop down, then there's obviously a lesson in there. That's showing the correct lesson. So the hub is pulling together the correct information. I'm pretty happy with that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, first of all, let's come into settings, I'm going to turn the CodeSpring MCP off a bit. I'm going to say, okay, what I want you to do now is synchronize the product requirement docs for this feature. So we've got a front end, a database, and a back end product requirement doc for the knowledge hub, which is called the course page and embedded search player feature inside CodeSpring. I want you to write a note in there on sort of some of the changes that we've done, and the requirement docs, I want you to update them to explain some of the database changes, how the actions work in terms of pulling data, how the knowledge base hub works, and obviously how those tables work in the database for the knowledge base hubs, and obviously how it then has access to, or then the courses are linked to the knowledge base hubs, because later on we're going to start designing the search querying, so we can actually have an AI language model that can actually query those embedded chunks inside our database from the knowledge base embeddings. So I want you to update the requirement docs inside CodeSpring for this feature. And we're going to send that through. Let's turn the CodeSpring MCP back on. And that should now work. Cool, so we're now syncing by the looks of it. Right, what it's done is it's gone ahead and it's gone CodeSpring MCP to-do list, fetch PRDs, has the PRDs for the front end, back end, and database, and now it's going to sync all of that stuff up. The only thing is I think we're going to need to sync it to some of the other ones as well, because it's got the knowledge base UI, which is front end, back end, knowledge bases here. So I'm just going to make sure that it's doing the correct one, actually. So I just want to make sure that you're updating the correct product requirement docs. So the front-end product requirement doc is going to be for course page plus embeddable search player, and then the database PRD knowledge bases, which is embeddable deployments, and then the back-end PRD is obviously feature overview, public course pages, and embeddable. So it's for the embeddable course page, which we've now renamed as the knowledge base hub. What you're not doing is updating the requirement docs for the knowledge base indexing feature. Send that through. Okay, so the changes have now been synchronized with the planning tool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at what we've got. We've got left the image library update. We've got one-click article generation to do. AI course outline generator, SOPs, this is a whole load of other features. So I think what I'm going to do, I want to now design an update for the can you redesign or relabel the course page plus embeddable search player feature? What we're going to call this is the knowledge hub. Because essentially we've redesigned it inside the app to be the knowledge hub, and I want you to also take some notes on how to actually create the querying. You know what? I'm just going to build that and then we can synchronize. I think it makes more sense. So what I want to do now is I want to add basic vector search querying to the knowledge base hub. So at the moment, right, if I search in it, it's literally just like I can search and I can type something, but it's not actually doing a vector search. So essentially what we're going to create is, in the search docs, is almost like an AI chatbot, right? When I send a message, it sends it to the AI, it gets the embeddings for it, and then what it will do is actually chunk it, not chunk it, but it'll actually then query the vector database, do a semantic search, and then bring back and tell us, okay, I want this to then describe, okay, which lesson is it we need to watch. This is a hard feature to build. We're going to use CodeSpring for this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, inside this course page, an embeddable search player. Can you just rename it to Knowledge Hub for me, and make sure the references to the linked notes are also known as Knowledge Base Hub. Okay, so let's just brainstorm for a second, because this is where things can break. Is what we're going to do is basically, when we search this, it's going to send it off to an AI. It's going to just quickly do some vector search through Superbase, and then from the metadata, so if we actually come into the knowledge base embeddings, we have the video unique ID, and we also have the text. Now at the moment the text doesn't actually have the timestamps, which is a little bit annoying, but we can fix that. I'll do that later on. But for now, what I want it to do is, I want it to say, okay, from the metadata, which video ID is it, and from the video ID we can figure out, where is it in the course. So did you mean knowledge base hub? Yes. Knowledge base hub. Is it knowledge base or is it knowledge hub? It's knowledge base hub. And then what it should do is, it should then come up with a drop down and say, here's the lesson that you want to find. So it could say, you could ask it a question like, how do I integrate CodeSpring and Lovable? Hit enter, and then you can see here 44% match. So this is it actually, maybe it's already doing it. Okay, let's figure that out in a second, because then what it should do is, we want it to actually have a there we go, let's change it to the knowledge hub. We want it to actually find, okay, based on this is the most relevant video for you to watch. And at a later date, we want it to say, okay, well, based on this, these are the chunks that are important to you. Here's an AI summary, and also here's a response of what you should watch. So essentially, what we have is, you can watch the lessons, but also we need like a view, which is like a learning view, which has the video, and then it has like an AI summary of what to do. I think is probably the best way of doing this. Okay, now what I want to do is start planning out the sort of search functionality. So I think we'll probably create a new feature, or we add this to the Knowledge Hub. Let's add it to the Knowledge Hub as a note. But inside the Knowledge Hub, we need like a view, which is because at the moment we have a course view where we can search them, we can see the courses, we can see the lessons. But what we also want is an FAQ answerable view, or like a learning view. So if I search for something in the search bar, what I want it to do is basically, it'll take my message, it will then send it off to the embeddings model, get the embeddings for it, it will then query on vector search, find out through similarity search which chunk of information has correct information, send that back to the AI, and an AI model will give me a quick summary of what the information is that I need, and it can then look across, if there's multiple chunks that have the correct information, it can give me a summary, but it can also have like a list of, here's the recommended videos to watch, that it can show me. And we want a UI for this, because at the moment when we search, there's a view that we can see, and I want the view to have, okay, here's the top video, and it'll tell, because in the embeddings we have the metadata of the video ID and obviously the text, so then we want to have like this is probably the most relevant video for you to watch, and then it can have like sources underneath it. These are the lessons that are used for the sources, and then you can click on the sources and then see the lessons maybe. So I want to design that out. And what I want you to do is use the Context 7 MCP to read the Superbase documentation on how their PG vector works for querying. This will be where CodeSpring comes into its own, is because right now we're kind of brainstorming, and it's like, how do we build some of these features, and what's the best way to build them and design them, and then it will look at our current setup and hopefully tell us, this is good, this is bad, fix this, don't do that sort of thing. Always allow, let's just approve that. Right, so added a new note under the knowledge hub. Let's see what is created for us here. So add a new note, FAQ learning view, pulled Superbase PG vector guidance from Context 7 and included in extension, index query patterns. Want me to add a DB migration note? No. I guess I want to make sure that this is a good user experience as well, because at the moment they can look at the courses and watch the videos, which is fine, but the search bar is going to be like a semantic search retrieval and also a brief summary, AI summary. So I can ask a question, I want it to be able to give me a straight away, here's a bullet point, ding ding ding, step-by-step plan of how to do your thing based on the knowledge, and then underneath it maybe the other things we need to show are the most recommended video to watch, and then also at the moment we don't have the timestamps from the transcript saved in our chunks or in our transcripts, but if we had the transcript timestamps, we would obviously then show them which specific section of the video they need to watch. But the other thing is, like, there could be, I don't know, 3 videos that answer the same question at different parts of the video. So I want it to have, like, ideally, this is what we recommend as the video to watch, and then, you know, underneath it, these are the other sources. Or maybe it says, okay, here's your step-by-step plan, here are the sources, and tag the sources to each step, so we know, okay, well, it said this based on this source. Maybe that's the way to do it. And then it's like almost like it's got referencing throughout the text. Then we can click on one of those references, and then it opens a slide-out drawer with the actual video. And then that's maybe the best way of doing it, actually. I like that idea. Because that way, right, imagine we're in here, how do I integrate CodeSpring to cursor? I could send this through, and then it could say here, like, here's a 5 steps plan on how to actually integrate it, and then it has like a reference within it. I could click on the reference, slide out drawer comes out, and it has the video to watch with, and then we can have like bullet points underneath the video maybe. And then what we could do is later on we could have a button on this which is like knowledge base or chat, and if I send the message then it will do the same thing in the chat, but it would obviously then allow me to ask follow-up questions in the chat, which could be cool. So great thinking in UX to capture the full answer. So let's see what it's done. Let's just auto layout. And I like to have everything collapsed for now, because then I can see which ones are the new notes that it's taken. But also, did it add any more notes? I swear I saw it add another note somewhere. Yeah, of course, outline generator. Okay. I think it's added a new feature. Let's just see what it says. Also, what I've said is basically this, we will probably add some sort of chat-based thing in the future, and if we're going to add some sort of chat-based thing, I want to make sure that what we've planned here for the retrieval using semantic search is going to be expandable, so we can use the same actions for that without having to sort of rebuild it multiple times over. Okay, so what we're going to do quickly is we're going to come into here and we're just going to say, I've given you access to the latest files, description of what we're trying to build here. Also, you have the front end and the back end requirement doc for this feature of what's currently in the code base. I want you to use the context of that to regenerate the requirement docs, front end and back end, based on the plans and notes that we've taken to then design out this querying functionality. And we're going to get that sent off. And then it's going to redesign these. To be honest with you guys, I think I'm going to end this here. I might get started building this. I'm finding it quite hard to build and also record everything, but I might get started designing and building this querying stuff. I also need to make some dinner as well because it's 7 o'clock. But I will obviously be back, and I will share what else I work on once I get back, or if I continue working on this. But yeah, I mean, just by using this, I'm learning a lot about our platform and updates and things we need to improve. If you guys have any other ideas of what you would like us to do to improve it, then please do let us know. Okay, so it is now the next morning. I did a little bit of work last night, so I'm going to walk you through what I did. It got to like 8 o'clock and I sort of ran out of energy to keep filming. But basically, we took the design of all of the information that we'd come up with, this idea of this knowledge-based retrieval, so we can ask questions, but it shows up in the Knowledge Hub, which is obviously not a chatbot. So the idea is we can send a message inside our Knowledge Hub. We can just send a message and then it will be able to answer us a question. It will have some sort of FAQ section page inside here. And basically that's what I did, is I then regenerated these requirement docs for the front end and the back end, and then just synced them with here using CodeSpring. We also pushed an update last night which makes the CodeSpring MCP a lot more stable. We're also working on more stability improvements and some orchestrator updates and improvements as well, which we'll see over the next few videos. But basically, you can see here it just pulled those in, then it planned out the update and the design, and then it was just basically just some UI tweaks, and then I just pushed it to GitHub. So I'll show you kind of what this does, and then we'll round off day 4, I think we're on. So here we have obviously got the knowledge base. So what I actually did is I came into the course builder, and I actually added in, oops, that's the Knowledge Hub. I came into the course builder and I actually added in some new updates. So I've created two new courses for the featured tutorials, and I did this. So if we come into here, for example, day 4, part 5, right, we can actually take a URL for a specific video, copy it, and when we come into our app, and let's say we create a new lesson, it defaults to Loom, but it will actually auto-fill the title. Which is quite cool, because what I was doing is I wanted to see how well does this actually work by training it on the training courses that we have inside CodeSpring. So basically taking all of our training courses and training material that we have for like our in-depth videos and Lovable and all of those other bits and pieces, and putting them inside the app. So I actually did that, and you can see it's created all of these. This video here, yesterday when I did it, didn't actually have the transcript generated by Loom. So it says it's still being processed, but it's not being generated. So we need to have, a better way of showing that up, because it shows up here as no transcript. I built a rescan functionality, so if there is a transcript, it will do it, and then obviously the ability to add a transcript. We don't have anything like that. But what I think I might do is add a transcript, and then in here we can do like an MP4 to transcript conversion or something, so people can go ahead, they can download their video, upload it, and then it will transcribe it. But for now, I'm not going to bother with that. I want to show you, obviously in the knowledge base we now have the 2 folders, and then obviously we have the modules and all of the lessons for each of those. So we have quite a few chunks have been set up for each of them. So if we come to this one, we have 15 chunks because it's quite a long video. But if we come to the course builder and the knowledge hub, and we come to this one, and we just ask, for example, how do I integrate the CodeSpring MCP with Cursor? What it's going to do is it's going to create this little AI answering page. So it's basically what it's doing is searching and querying the database and getting those chunks. And you can see here, I've created it so it has like references. First, set up the CodeSpring MCP by pulling in your project data. Next, ensure that your CodeSpring account is secure and only accessible by Cursor. I need to do some work on the system prompts. 3, then generate your API key by navigating to the MCP tool. And you can see here, if we click on this, it takes us to the video that it thinks is useful, so how to generate and connect any software. So in here, let me just see if I'm muted. If we actually play this specific video, we have a guide on this, and it explains how to actually, take us and how to actually create an MCP tool and integrate it. So it's found the correct specific video for basically what we're trying to do. So after getting the API key, paste the command in your preferred software, finally verify the cursor can access any data. And then again here, set up the cursor MCP. It takes us to a video that explains how to set up the cursor MCP. So it's doing a pretty good job of it. The only thing I would like it to do at some point is the transcripts to have the timestamps. So when it does this, it would take us to the section of the video and autoplay, so we don't have to watch the whole video. And I'm going to get it to give bullet point summaries for each of these as well, and then basically from there we can resync it. We can also see a suggested video, so it knows, okay, we're trying to integrate cursor with CodeSpring with cursor. This is the suggested video, two-way MCP for cursor. If I go, for example, I don't know what lessons I've actually got in here, so you can see build an app in Lovable. So I could be like, how do I connect Lovable to CodeSpring? I actually don't know if this search bar here works. I haven't tried this bit yet. I don't like the fact that it auto writes that bit out. First, go to the API key section in CodeSpring, create a new API key named Lovable. Next, copy and save the API securely. Then in Lovable, navigate to the integration sections and ensure that CodeSpring MCP is set up. Finally, you can start building your app in Lovable. And again, CodeSpring v2, build an app in Lovable. And if we click on one of these, for example, it's going to take us to a specific video building an app on Lovable. I haven't actually added any videos for, here we go, how to connect CodeSpring and Lovable. So it then finds a specific video that walks you through how to connect CodeSpring with Lovable, which makes things really, really easy and helpful for people to find. So I think basically what I've got here is proof of concept. This is a very, very useful little tool that we've just created. We're only on day 4. Moving forward, there's some updates and optimizations that I want to do. So what I'm probably going to do now is have a look through here and figure out, okay, what's the next thing to work on? And it's going to be advanced sort of enhancements to our existing code base to make it sort of more powerful. I've also updated the UI a little bit for these lessons to make it a little bit nicer. We have the lesson area, and I think maybe what we want to do is work on the system prompt, so when it gives us a response it's better, but also I want to have a summary, like a thing we can generate an AI summary that shows up underneath that makes it a little bit like bullet points, easier for people to understand what to do, so it knows, okay, this is kind of what the video is about, and then here's a summary on how to do it. The other thing which I think would be really useful is caching, right? So if I say, for example, how to connect CodeSpring to cursor, every time I do this, we have to regenerate the embeddings, requery the database, and then get the AI to generate a response. I think we should have a way where it stores that response. The other thing is, at a certain point, we're probably going to want to need some way of just allowing somebody to edit this. So if I've created it, this is obviously in the admin panel. In this view, we want to have, okay, in the admin panel view, a way of editing these responses and then saving it to cache, which then means in the public view, when we publish it, then other people will be able to, publish, when we embed it, which I don't think we've actually created the embedding system yet, then it won't have the thing to edit it, but it will always use the cached responses, but it will then be quicker and cheaper for us to run. So that's kind of where we got up to so far. I think we can also change the color. So we could come to, I don't know, like red, for example, and we can obviously change these here to red. So that's quite cool. We've got some basic customizations. Maybe we want to have the way where we actually, I also try to add it. So if I have that lowercase, it also shows up here always as uppercase, which I think is just a bit cleaner. But at some point we'll have it so you can add your own logo, some other bits and pieces. But we're really starting to progress through this quite quickly. I'm pretty impressed. Obviously, if you guys would like to grab access to CodeSpring and build along with us, there is a link down below in the description. If you copy this invite link, you create an account for CodeSpring and buy the premium plan, which is $350 for a full year. Comes out to about £20 per month, $20 per month. Then you will get an additional 50,000 free credits. So for context, when you're on the premium plan, you have 10,000 credits per month. But if you buy with the link down below, you'll get an extra 50,000 just for free, just by using this invite code. And also don't forget, if you're building and you're creating things with CodeSpring, if you create your own videos and you post your own videos on YouTube and you create your own invite links, then you can share it, invite other people, invite your friends, business partners, or anybody else to start using CodeSpring, and you can give them your invite link, and you will get 50,000 credits for referring them, and they will also get 50,000 credits for using your referral link. So definitely worth doing if you are interested in using CodeSpring. The link is down below. Obviously, I'll be back with day 5, and I will show you some of the other updates and enhancements that we're working on.